Sales, sales, sales.
Sales, sales, sales. It says we're live.
It says we're live. I guess we are. I always get a little bit behind because I wait for the tech to show up. Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. I even need to get my microphone closer. Happy Friday and welcome to the Facebook Live Fiesta for the Social Selling Maven, where we give you value and tips and tricks that you can take to the market today to become the best version of yourself, because that's why we're here. Now, I am pleasured to have my friend George here with us today, who's sitting on the island of Cyprus, and we're going to ask him a little bit about that, because as Americans, we tend to not even know where Cyprus is. So George, you're going to have to give us a geography lesson. And then George has this Greek last name that's Konstantinou, which I love. Everybody meet George, my friend George. And I will say that this is week, I don't know what, right? I still don't even have a calendar. So I think it's week 4 on our lockdown. And it's probably day 21 of me being unemployed and on my own as an entrepreneur. And today I declared it dress down day. And I just showed George, I have to show you guys. I had the cutest little Frida t-shirt made.
I love that. That's amazing.
And so my dress code, which I'm enforcing for all my employees, is t-shirt and jean Friday. So George, what are we going to talk about today? Let's talk a little bit about you, what you've been up to, what the island of Cyprus is like, and how you're going to blow the socks off of the people watching this to learn more about sales and the art of actually closing the deal.
Right.
Take it
away. Perfect. I will. Thank you very much.
Wait, time out. The ticket of entry to my fiesta.
Yes.
Is what's your favorite recipe? What are you going to bring when you come over to my house for the fiesta?
Definitely my homemade guacamole and sour cream. 100%. That's the one thing that I do. When I used to be on keto, one of the things that I could eat all the time was sour cream. So I perfected it to the point where I could eat it every day. So that's what I'd bring to a fiesta.
All right. So now we have, I don't remember what Steve said. He was one of our first guests. And so our friend Andrew is bringing ceviche. So now we have at our party, my tequila, of course, which you can see in the background. We have tequila, ceviche, and guacamole with sour cream. So somebody's got to bring the chips. Are you going to bring chips?
Yes, that's included.
Okay.
That's included.
Some tortilla chips as well. All right. So take it away, George. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How you got into sales, why you're passionate about selling, and what it is today that you're going to talk about. Everybody get your pen and paper out because we're going to be taking notes.
Perfect. So first of all, to talk about Cyprus, to give you guys the geographical location, it's in the Mediterranean Ocean. It's a small country under Turkey. Our population's around 1.2 million as a whole. If you're speeding on the highway, you can do the country back to front in an hour and a half to 2 hours tops. So very small, very short distances, great food, great weather all year round, minus the horrible humidity and dust that passes through the country once in a while. So yeah, island life for the win. I'm blessed to not have funky hair, so it doesn't get blown up when there's humidity. So that's a good thing.
That's a Cypriot requisition right there.
Cypriot requisition, that's true. Yeah. So as far as how I got into sales, it's a very interesting story because I kind of had to, because as I initially started working, I started as a very low ticket kind of like copywriter on Fiverr. Mm-hmm. So I mainly worked with ConvertKit, setting up email campaigns and, writing emails. So eventually it reached a point where my pricing went up to like $300, $400 a gig, right? And at that point, it was harder to close people through text on Fiverr because most people know Fiverr is a very low ticket platform. So I kind of offered, let's get on a 25 minute consultation call to talk about this, etc. Now, I wasn't a natural. I sucked a lot when I was on the phone. One of my biggest fears, actually, and it's one of the things that I really want to talk about, is I felt afraid to actually ask for the sale and make an offer on the phone. That was one of the biggest things that I had to do. Not because I was embarrassed or I didn't believe in myself. It's just I felt like I was going to get resistance from it. So what I did, I went in the phone, had crazy amounts of energy, the typical salesman, hey, everything wrong. I sent a bunch of proposals, always, most of the times got rejected. But miraculously, I was able, even in my worst of my worst, close deals on the phone. And then I realized, okay, maybe I have a knack for this. So I've been slowly developing it over the past few years, and I've reached the point where I can comfortably say, I'm pretty good on the phone. I can get better, but I'm in a position where I'm comfortable to share what I know with some people to help them get some more sales on the phone today.
Yeah. And so what some people may not know, which you may not even care, but I got my start in telemarketing. So there was a time when I was in college and I knew I wanted to go into sales, but I knew I had no sales experience. So what did I start doing? I started doing telemarketing and selling extended warranty for appliances. That's where I got my sales start. And then I also started opening checking accounts and I went into more telemarketing. So I did have a start on the phone, but some people have a hard time going from in-person sales where they're knocking on doors. So, I come from the medical field. We walk into an office, we hand our card to the receptionist. There's this whole system that we go through. But those salespeople now that are trapped at home and they can't knock on the doors, this is the time when they really need to hone their telephone sales skills. So that's really why I wanted George to come on the phone, because there's a system to it. There's people that are killing it already. So we want to talk about how you can take your online connections over into offline relationships and actually sell. So George, what are you going to walk us through today? What kind of system or what's the methodology that you want people to take home from this? And do you have anything planned? Like, are we going to start with an avatar? Like when we talked with Andrew, oh, my props are behind me. We were selling a piñata, right? So do you have an avatar? We were looking for people that were about to plan their son or daughter's, if it's a son, it's not a sweet 16, but a birthday party. So is there any avatar that or persona that you want to use as you go through these exercises so that it's a little more tangible, or do you want to talk in theory? There's no right or wrong. Just want to know which way you want to go so we can set the stage.
Yeah, that's actually a very good question. I'd love it. I'm gonna go general for so it's a little bit more tangible for people. If you're selling a service online or you're a service provider, then what I'm gonna walk you through now is ideal for the whole situation. So I'm gonna walk through essentially my entire system from appointment to money in the bank. And the full disclaimer, you don't need to do every single step that I do. I personally do it within my company because I need to qualify people very specifically, and it's a very high specificity, low volume type of business. We don't need a lot of clients to keep bringing in revenue. So I have to make people go through specific steps, or I like to call them specific hoops, so that we can do business with them. Now you can pick one of the three and you can start closing clients effective immediately.
Yeah, you can close on the first call too, right? And so we'll call it, instead of steps, we'll call it conversions, right? Because that's what we talk about, converting them to the next step, to get to the next step, to get to the close. Okay, so service provider could be a coach, it could be a lead gen system, it could be, let's see, maybe they're talking to somebody about a course. That's also a service, right? They're selling a tangible thing, but it's really over the phone. It's not an e-commerce type of product that they're delivering.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
Step one.
Actually, the first step is obviously, this is assuming that you have generated interest by conversating with people on LinkedIn. Are we talking about that, or are we talking specific on the phone, what to do on the phone?
We could start with LinkedIn, sure, because their lead has to come from somewhere. And since that's what I do and that's what we do together is LinkedIn lead gen, let's take that specific to our product. That's a perfect place to start, because a lot of people don't want, right now, they're not running Facebook ads. they're not doing paid ads. This is a way that they can actually deals without having any cash outlay upfront.
Mhm.
Okay, so
Right.
this is what we're doing. So we're starting with LinkedIn.
Perfect. So we're starting with LinkedIn, and essentially, if you can afford to add Sales Navigator, perfect, because for clarification, Sales Navigator allows you to search for very specific people that you're looking for. Like, for example, for me, I'd want to look for leadership coaches based in New York that have a company size of around 20 employees. That's my niche client selection. You can't do that with LinkedIn normal. It's a little bit more of a general approach. So if you can invest I think it's $60 or $70 a month for Sales Navigator, highly recommend. It's going to give you all the leads that you need. And you essentially search for the people that you're looking for. In my case, leadership coaches in New York, 20 employees. And I essentially craft my messaging.
I'm going to pull my Sales Navigator up so I can talk specifics while you're talking. So go ahead.
Perfect. So you essentially go and search for the audience segment that you're looking for, and then you test and tweak different messaging approaches. Obviously, now everybody if you were on LinkedIn, there's a lot of saturation in the market. A lot of people are pitching everything. Instead of actually building relationships with the potential clients that they're going for, they're actually straight pitching. And you and I both know, Kat, that sales is a numbers game. However, you minimize your chances of success if you do not have some form of personalization, charm, or brand in your messaging. It's like, hey, I do marketing. Cool. Maybe 1 out of 500 people that you speak to will raise their hand, but your chances of success will dramatically increase if you specifically go to each company and personalize your message a little bit. Hey, I noticed that you do this. I really like that. Would be great to connect. And then just build that relationship and follow up with them, see how they're doing. And the way that I like to do it, it's because a lot of salespeople could fall in the trap of relationship building too much instead of actually moving it towards the sale. So you need to have specific questions based on what you want to know from the client to know if they're a good fit to work with you.
So let's pause there, because that's a big take home, which I drive home on all my messaging, right? We're doing business outreach, we're building business relationships, and the definition of that is that it needs to have a positive impact on your business. So if you're on LinkedIn to build rapport, great. You're building rapport for a reason, for business, right? If you're just going to chit chat and shoot the shit, then go back to Facebook.
Exactly.
That's where you're just going to talk about cat memes. So LinkedIn, you're there with a goal. You're there to build your list. You're there to find out more. You're there to disqualify people, because it's this big, they're already pre-qualified with the filters that you use in Sales Navigator. Now it's our job to disqualify people. So, okay.
Love it. Thank you for that, because it really segues into one of the most important things, the questions that you ask. To give you a tangible example, when I used to sell a lot more email marketing, my line of questioning was, hey, I'm really curious, what are some of the interesting projects that you're working on in your business? And they might tell me A, B, C, D, like, oh, I'm running this course, I'm running this product, oh, I'm looking for clients. Oh, interesting. Have you ever thought of implementing email marketing, or do you have any form of email marketing in your business currently? Right? So I'm funneling them down a very specific path. Oh, cool. What results are you getting? What are your next steps? And with all this information, then I can follow up. And when I feel I have enough information, I can tell them, hey, I might have a few things that would help you out. How about we get on a quick 30 to 40 minute call and I can share that stuff with you on the phone, right? And most of the times, 80 to 85% of the time, people agree on the phone call. Doesn't mean that they're a good fit. I'm still going to get on the phone and qualify them to see if there's a way that we can work together. And I'm still going to help them, because I promised that I'd give them tangible next steps. But the more that you get on the phone, the quicker your sales intuition will be able to eliminate bad prospects. And the system's going to be refined so that you're only talking with people that have a certain level of qualification. So yeah, go
So
ahead.
from initial, and then we have metrics that we can share with you guys in the future. But so from initial outbound message that we're sending to getting the person on the telephone, how many messages do you think it takes to get them on the phone? And well, first, let's answer that question. How many messages do you think it takes to find the information to build them up and warm them up enough where they feel comfortable for getting on the phone with you?
Perfect. It depends. It's around 2 to 6. 6 if I'm building a little bit more rapport and I'm getting more information. 2 if I just say, hey, great to connect with you, love what you do, and I give them a very personalized response. By the way, we do this. Would you be interested in talking further? Right? So there's two approaches. Both work. But if you're going to be talking with A-lister clients, very premium clients, do take the additional steps to touch them and engage with them a little bit more.
Yes, because everybody out there, how many times have you seen this message that say, hey, let's hop on the phone? Or they have their message is so long that you pop open your LinkedIn messaging and it takes the whole screen up and you're scrolling. And if I have to scroll the message, it gets deleted. So if somebody's throwing up in my inbox on LinkedIn, then I know they're probably going to throw up on the phone, as well as my next step is I'm probably going to get an email from them. I already know their system. So being authentic, you guys, and really building that relationship is what George is talking about. Like, we're not just, I mean, yes, you're going to build a rapport. How are you holding up during this time? Are you still working? Are you working from home? Like, those are some of the questions that you really want to know, because when you get on the phone with them, you really want to care, right? So we've built our lead list through Sales Navigator. We've sent our connection request that's personalized. And if you guys have been in any of my webinars or business boosters, I have a whole list of connection requests that goes out. So if you want a list of that, just let me know. I can send you the template. And then now we're going to warm them up and start asking questions. So here's my question to you. Should the people have sort of their sales process written down, or are they just kind of going to shoot from the hip?
That's a very good question. I want to talk about that with an anecdote, because I did both. The way that I operate on the phone, I love the idea of having a structure and knowing, okay, these are the questions I need to ask because this is the information that I need to gather. However, you need to shoot from the hip because every call can go different. The variations, the permutations, the person that you're talking on the other line is a person with a personality. They might go on a tangent and talk about their dog or their cat. It's up to you to actually talk with them and build that rapport. So the best anecdote for me to say that is I used to work for an influencer a while back to close deals for them. And it was very interesting. Whenever I stuck too close to the script, I ended up not listening to the prospect, and I was in my own head.
Exactly.
And that's the biggest problem on the phone. People are more worried about how they sound, what questions are they asking and all that, versus actually listening and caring about the other person.
Yep.
And they can pick up on that. They know.
Yeah. So one of the things that I would suggest, and maybe you would too, is like shut your Bluetooth off, shut your phone off. If you're talking on a Zoom or if you're talking on the phone, shut all those things off that could beep and throw you off. And if you're on the phone, I've even closed my eyes so that I can picture what this person's looking like, or I have their LinkedIn profile in front of me so I see their picture, so I understand exactly who I'm talking to, right? And that happens in face-to-face sales as well. I've had sales reps that are sitting on the edge of the seat, just waiting for the next thing they're going to say and not listening, not having the listening skills to listen to what their prospect is answering for them. So Good points to bring up.
Yeah, and it's a lot of people think that sales is more of a tactics. What do I say? How do I counter objections and all that, which is very important. You need to know how to handle specific objections. However, it is magnified by the internal work that you have done up to that point. A lot of people just kind of like go on the phone and say, I just need to do this, etc. But the attitude that you get on the phone and the feelings that you project on that phone call will be the bigger determinant of the phone call versus your ability to handle objections or deal with stuff. To give you an idea, what I tell to myself before I get on the phone, I have a whole list of affirmations. One of the biggest ones is, I am the gatekeeper to them living the life of their dreams. And that is why I must do my best to listen, care, and offer a solution that is going to be the best fit for them.
Good. Repeat that. You guys can write it down. You can steal it from George.
Yes, I am the gatekeeper for, oh my, I'm going to mess up the words now, but essentially, I am the gatekeeper to these people, to this person living the life of their dreams. And that is why I must do my best to listen, care, and offer them a solution that is going to truly transform their life. And when you can really internalize that feeling, then everything just happens naturally. Because, and this, I want to segue this into my next point, Kathryn, you know that I bust people's balls all the time when it comes to building rapport, because people underestimate the rapport building part of the call. That is, in fact, the most important part of the call. And you need to find every opportunity to do it. And I like to use my own self-made concept in my head called rapport points. The more rapport you have, the harder questions you can ask. And because my questions are really tough, why is this a problem? What have you tried in the past and this hasn't worked? Really technical business-based problems that force people to give me the worst side of their business. You need to have good rapport, because if you're mouthing questions like a robot, what's your problem? What's this? What's that? There's a disconnect, and you don't get the true, honest answer of the person that you're speaking with. So what I like to do, and please steal this, I know I'm kind of going on a tangent.
No, I'm just going to make some comments after you're done with your tangent.
Oh, perfect. I want, please steal this, ladies and gents that are reading this, that are watching this. Every single time somebody gives you a lot of information, thank them. Tell them, I appreciate you for giving me all this information. It gives me a very good idea of where you're at and how I can serve you. Because every time you ask them a barrage of questions, it lowers the rapport, and you need to find every opportunity to raise it up, because then that allows you to ask for more information, and people really believe that you care.
Yeah. So what I was going to comment back at is that as a female, and as having worked with, I would probably say a fair share of both women and men in sales. Now, of course, here's my plug for NAWSP, now working with NAWSP and women in sales, women don't have that problem so much of building a rapport. Like we can talk all day long. You know, I've said this before, I can find somebody's life story on an airplane ride and I feel sorry for the sucker that sits next to me, right? So building the rapport isn't the problem for most females. I see that women have more of a hard time asking for the money. And it's the worth. And that's why for women, I believe they really need to work for a company that they believe in, because they have to feel it in their heart, in their soul, that the company, not just the product, but the company has their back as well. And that's really important to employers. If you're watching this, that when you're hiring, if you're looking for women in sales, like, they need to know that they belong, that this is a community that you're going to serve them. And the product is going to also, you know, they attach their name to that product. Men, I think, are a little bit different, right? They're like, whatever. Some men can just say, I'll just, whatever, give me what, till a pen, a cup, a pair of glasses, a bottle of water, I'll sell it all day long. What are your thoughts on that gender differentiation?
I do agree. Men tend to be more on the disagreeable side of the spectrum, and women tend to be a little bit more agreeable. That's why when A, you have your feelings of self-worth in check before you get on the phone, and B, you actually work for a company that you believe in, that's going to exoterically increase your conversions on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
It goes back to that foundational argument. What's your internal dialogue when you're actually getting on the phone? And that internal dialogue is going to determine where your call is going to go. Because I remember somebody told me this example. It's a beautiful example. Your brain is a ship, and your brain is navigated by little sailors, which is mini versions of you.
Okay.
Whatever you tell to your sailors, they're going to do. It's there. When you say, gosh, I hope I don't screw this up, then they're going to find, instead of focusing on the other person, they're going to look for ways to not screw this up. And that's not a good focus to have when you're getting on a phone call.
Yeah, those are all
Right?
mindset things. So I think one of our next segments is going to be mindset, right? So positivity, whatever you need to do. George and I both talk a lot about starting our mornings with our morning routines and our workouts and our journaling and our meditation to get our mindset right. Most of the other people that I'm dealing with now in sales as well, they have to have that mind space. Like they have to be in a positive place to be able to bring positive change to the people that they're talking about. Okay, so let's get back to our structured call,
Yes,
sales call.
Structured call.
We've
Yes.
done our lead gen search on Sales Navigator or whatever you're using. You sent your outbound first connection request. They've come back and connected. You've done 2 to 6 messages now to build rapport with them. And what's the next step? Are you sending them a calendar, a request? Are you just saying, hey, can I have your telephone number? How's that next conversation going? How are you actually going to schedule the call?
Perfect. I personally like when people schedule a call in my calendar because there's an authoritative, there's a certain level of authority in that. Oh, I'm booking time in George's calendar, not the other way around. Now, if I have to call somebody or make an outbound call, I don't mind. But my ideal scenario is somebody books an appointment in my calendar. They take it more seriously that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's another question, just from experience, and I have some tips for it. What percentage of people might cancel, and how do you handle a cancellation? Like they just are a no-show.
That is very funny you say that, because I actually had 3 no-shows today on the phone, which is interesting. How do I handle that? I always default into, is the other person okay? Did something happen? That's my default. So, hey, I missed you today. Are you okay? Did something happen? Let me know. Because it's implied that I'm following up about the call, but I want to make sure that they're okay. More often than not, something did happen.
Yeah.
And then we just book another follow-up call. Some people just say, oh yeah, I wasn't interested and I ghosted, right? Or they don't respond at all. To those people, I actually say, well, okay, that's fine, but I would appreciate it that you actually told me that so that I could book it with somebody else. And the reason I do that, I am practicing, and this is a very good tip for women as well, I am practicing my disagreeability. Because when you can talk back and say, I respect that you didn't find this, but my time is also very valuable, so I would have appreciated the follow-up. I'd actually encourage people to use that form of language because it raises you up. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I have my self-respect in check, right?
Yeah. And another tip that I put in place is in my booking calendar, when the message comes out to them, it says, I take my appointments very seriously.
Yes.
If you cannot make the appointment, I need a 24-hour in advance notice. And here's the reschedule link. So
yes.
there's I put that in place because there's statistics that show if you use that type of wording, then they tend to take the appointment a little more serious. And then a second thing that I put in place is that I had some automation in place. And so I zap over from my calendar to a video email system where I hop on a 20-second video and I tell them how much I'm looking forward to the appointment and recapping what we talked about in our messaging. So they see me as a real person. They know it's not some robot setting appointments. And that also could increase the number of accountable appointments that show up. And you can track that to see who opens it, who reads it, who replies, etc. So it's just going more on that step of continuing to build the rapport and showing that you're a real person and you're treating the appointment as like a business, right? It's, I'm really here, I'm invested, I'm doing all these things to show you how invested I am. Okay, so now they're on the calendar. What's the next step? Are you sending out, do you have your, what calendar booking system are you using?
I switch between Calendly and Kartra. Kartra allows you to create a calendar link, but for the beginners, because it takes a little bit of effort, use Calendly. It's the easiest to use.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have built-in reminders. You can even ask pre-qualifying questions. I personally like doing that. I like having a form before people book a call. Do you have, one of the biggest questions being, it's an oxymoron. I ask, how much do you want to make in the next 12 months? And they give me a number. How much would you be willing to invest to make that happen? And a lot of people, they might say, I want $10,000. How much are you willing to invest? Less than 500. Okay, I might not want to speak to you on the phone because you're not really taking that seriously. So that information allows you to personally judge, do I want to risk 20, 30, 40 minutes of my time to talk to somebody that may not buy?
Yeah. Yeah, those are all good tips. And I coach people on setting up their calendars. So some other things to remember is you need to make sure you have their cell phone number in the calendar and also an email address in case it's different than what you might be able to find on LinkedIn. So those are just some things that I've learned through trial and error. And then another little tip that I can give to you guys that I use is that I tell them they're automatically going to be added to my email list. And then they can opt out. So that has helped me build my email list. So so how many touch points is that, right? We've sent a connection request. They've connected. Let's say we've had 6, I can't do math. That's 6, that's 8 touch points. The calendar link confirmation went out. They now have been added to my email list and my video went out. So what is that? 12 touch points they've had so far?
Already.
Right. So just some good tips. Okay. So now you've got them on the calendar. What do you do in preparation of your appointment?
Very good question. I do surface level information gathering so that I can understand a little bit about the person and what they do. Because personally, this is a personal preference, most of my information gathering comes from the first 15-minute call. As I said at the start, I have 3 appointments set. I have 3 calls. The appointment setting call, the deep dive call, and the closing call, essentially. So what I do is I look at their profile, I look at what they're doing, what business they're in, and I make sure, because my questions are like, okay, what's the biggest thing in a business name? Well, I want to fill that in with their business. Or, I noticed that you have this on your website. Tell me more about that. So my questions are custom tailored based on the business and what information I want to extract from them. But usually most of my information gathering comes on the appointment setting call. And this is, there's 4 very important things that you need to bring to actually extract from an appointment setting call. You need to qualify for time, commitment, interest, and there's another one, and money. Time, commitment, interest, and money. Those are the 4 things that you need to actually qualify for. A lot of people, and again, I'm generalizing salespeople, people usually just go on these calls and they're like, oh yeah, oh my God, I built such a good relationship with them. They're gonna definitely become customers. They're really good people. And then when you ask them, okay, did you guys talk about potentially moving forward and talking? Not really. I kind of gave them an idea of what we do, but it was a really good call, really good relationship, right? So there's a point where relationship building can go too far, right? So while relationship building and rapport and all that is super important, that's not the metric. The metric is, are these people getting on a follow-up call? Did they show interest in your offer? Okay. That's the conversion metric that we're looking for. So
Those 4
Um,
points again. So how are you addressing those 4 points?
Very good question. So is this some questions that I ask? Is this something that you want to solve in your business now, or can it wait 6 months? Commitment. Interest. Are you interested in getting ideal result for your business, right? In my case, are you interested in growing your company by at least $500,000 in revenue in the next 12 months by installing a lead generation system? Yes. I did commitment and interest. Time. Do you have the bandwidth? I like to talk about infrastructure capabilities.
Yeah.
Do you have the infrastructure capability to handle more business? And do you have the time to commit to that? Right? And money, listen, I'm going to be transparent with you. This is literally what I say. In the spirit of full transparency, I want to make sure that both our times is used very effectively, and I want to get the money conversation out of the way before we really dive into the crux of things. Now, I know that we're a performance-based marketing agency, and we get paid based on the results that we deliver, not the size of the promises that we make. But I do want to let you know that we do have some setup costs that we need to install the system prior to us getting paid on performance. Do you have a budget set aside for something like this? And then I give them a range. And if they don't gawk at the range, then I book the second call, right? And in the middle of that, I give them my offer. I tell them what we do. I give them an idea of what we do. I understand where their business is, what their sticking points are, who they market to, what do they sell, why do the competition picks them over anybody else. But the two most important questions that I ask at the start of every conversation is, what do you want to get out of this call? And why is this important to you? And why do you specifically want this now? Because those two questions give you a very good foundation to build rapport off of, and it gives you some very good information to engage with the prospect. So if somebody comes to me and says, hey, I'm looking for a performance-based marketing agency to help me out, great, awesome, we can talk. But if somebody tells me, yeah, I'm looking for a performance-based marketing agency because my business is just getting started and I don't want to pay for marketing, that's a problem. That's not the person I'm looking for. So I just saved potentially 60 minutes of my time.
Yeah. Now I'm taking this negotiation class, which is really good. We'll go back once again. I'm noticing a female male different. Let's just say me and you difference. Let's not say female male.
I love it.
So when you are confidently saying, listen, we have some setup costs and it's between the range of whatever, and they balk, right? They're like, oh, that's really not what I had in mind. That's not what I thought. Then people, it's okay to say, I don't really think this is going to work for you. Then I don't think that you're a good target. This is a hard cost that we have to incur to be able to provide the value to you that you want to reach the goal you just stated. And if there's no ability for you to engage with our company for our hard costs, then what's going to happen down the road as we share risk with a revenue risk share program, right? They're not willing to give out. We're willing to wait for our money, but they're not willing up front to engage in those hard costs. So that's an easy sayonara, right?
Yes, it is. If somebody gave me that objection, and I'm very grateful that you brought this up, I would actually say, oh, interesting. Why is that? And I dig deeper. And then I'd say something along the lines of, okay, so let me get this straight. If what we offer is exactly what you're looking for, it solves the problems that you want and helps you reach the goals that you want, you wouldn't be comfortable with investing this setup cost to get this result. I always anchor to what they want. And more oftentimes than not, they say, oh, in that case, yes, I'm okay with that. Right? So usually, and I'm sure that you would agree here, Kathryn, a lot of objections are smoke and mirrors. People are a little bit embarrassed of giving the reality of the situation and what it is. That's why rapport is very important. You usually get the real answers from people. But if somebody's throwing up smoke and mirror, for the ladies and the gents out there, don't be afraid to dig deeper and ask for more information, because remember, you are the gatekeeper to these people living the best life ever. And you need to have all the information, not so that you can be a sleazy salesperson to use the information that they give you against them, but so that you can show them the possibilities of what can happen if what you offer can actually solve their problem.
Yes. We can talk on another topic is guarantees, right? Like you have to feel so confident in what you're offering that you're willing to give some guarantees to this person, which it could actually be a unique value proposition because maybe no one else is guaranteeing something that you know, that's something they can hang their hat on. We can talk more about that. So we've got them on the phone. We're having the conversation. The first call is an initial 15 minutes.
Yes.
Or it goes longer if you feel like they're so hungry and interested. You totally see it as a great fit. They're excited. You're excited. You can close the deal on the first call.
Usually not. For this usually for this specific business, right? If it was for my because again, there's certain criteria that I need to adhere to and really think about. But if I was back in the day when I was selling pure email marketing, absolutely this can be a one-call close. You can go from information gather to understanding the island of pain and the island of plenty, you know, what they want and what they don't want. And then you can bridge the gap between their pain and their island of plenty. Mm-hmm. And for that, I want to go on a little bit of a side note and give a very powerful bridging the gap technique, because I noticed that a lot of salespeople kind of like have this, when when everything's said and done and you reach the end of the call, there's like this very passive aggressive silence of who's going to talk first, is he going to ask for the sale? Is he making me ask for the sale? There's that little part. There's that no man's land period where it gets super awkward. I actually have a very quick 1-2 that eliminates all that awkwardness. I show them what can happen if they work with us. I tell them, hey, this system can get you this. We're going to be doing this. Do you see the value in a system like this being installed in your business? Yes. Okay, is this something that you want to do now or in the next 6 months? Now. Okay, do you want my help to do this or do you want to do it on your own? Very black and white.
Yes, well, and it goes back to the whole thing that we've been talking about is the binary choices of the brain. You know, it's a, do you want A or do you want B? Not do you want A or do you not want A at all? It's do you want A or do you want B, right? So so that's a good that's a good tip for the silence. But it's okay also to just be quiet.
Yes, silence is actually very powerful. And usually, this is actually a very powerful tip. Sometimes when you're extremely silent, other people try to fill up the void and say stuff. And when they say things, they give you more information that you can use in your arguments against what they say, their objections. And I'd actually implore people to be comfortable in sitting in silence and letting the other person finish their thoughts, because you're going to get a lot of valuable information out of them. Mm-hmm. And to go back to the initial bridging the gap point, that's a very powerful, because you don't go into the whole, oh yeah, like the push and pull type thing that some salespeople and prospects tend to fall into. And then you just simply ask the question, where do you want to go from here? Mm-hmm. If you want us to, do you want to work with us? Great. Why is that? Okay, where do you want to go from here? If not, oh, why is that? Even if they say no, ask why. Because maybe you didn't explain something good enough, and you can use that as an opportunity to re-bring them back in the loop. Or you can get valuable marketing information so that, okay, this person didn't like it, so I'm not going to go for this type of person again.
Okay, good. Yeah. Once again, disqualifying, right?
Yes.
Finding who you don't want to work with.
Yes.
So
Perfect.
we're coming up to about 5 minutes left in our
Mhm.
talk. So we've done the first call. How are
Yes.
you, that first discovery call, when you get 15 minutes is not that long, right? I mean, we've been
It's not.
talking for 45, 46.
Yes.
So 15 minutes, you have your, you try to get as much conversational information as possible, right? You
Yes.
guys, I want you to remember that you're not going with your list. What's your name? What do you do? What are your, what, how much did you make? Why not? Don't say anything else. I still have this list of questions I'm going to get through, you know. So the conversational questions to answer to get the information you need. How do you bridge that over to know that they're a good candidate to go to the 45-minute discovery call, or the next call where are you sending them another list of questions for unanswered questions? Like how's that bridge happen to get them to the next call?
Very good question. Again, based on the time those four qualifiers that we had earlier, once I get good responses there that they are a sizable company, they do have volume, all that, and you get it's sales intuition. You understand when somebody's qualified from the way that they talk to the answers that they give. So I do that based on feeling. So if somebody's selling a lot, wants to grow, has the capacity, works with a bunch of people, again, this goes back to the audience that you're picking. If the audience that you're picking is 20 to 30 employees, in my specific case, chances are that they have a sizable company if they have 20 to 30 people on payroll. So I already kind of know that. So I'm just really asserting interest. In the second call, and I really want to give an example of the questions that I ask on a second call, that's very, first of all, I just pre-frame the call very simple. I'm very direct with people, and this is very beneficial for both men and women because it's that feeling of relief that you get that I just said it, I set the tone for the call, and whatever happens, happens. So I usually say something along the lines of, Mr. Prospect, I want to be very honest with you. The purpose of this call is for us to disqualify each other, because I want us to find all the reasons that it's not a good fit for us to work together. Because the worst thing that can happen than no deal is a bad deal. So I want you to look for reasons that we're not a good fit, and I want you to, and I'm going to do the same with you. And at the end, we'll give a very honest answer to each other. That takes away all the stress and pressure that most salespeople feel. Oh my God, I need him to say yes. No, you've just said it's okay to say no.
Yeah.
They're going to give you honest answers, and you're going to be able to be transparent with them as well. So that's my pre-frame. And in terms of information, we're getting into the very technical stuff here. What's your revenue and profit? Because then you can see, okay, they might be making $600,000 in revenue, but they're only taking home 40. So they're essentially going to be paying you from $40,000. So you're not going to ask for a $20,000, package. Doesn't make sense, right? What are your business channels? Do you have an email list that you market to? Do you have an ad budget? Who are you serving, and who's the most profitable audience that buys from you? What's your best offer? Risk reversals, which is essentially a guarantee. And you're really getting all this information because this is giving you all the concrete information that you can tap into when you get into the negotiation part of the call. Okay, so it's going to cost you $10,000. Oh, but that's too much. Yeah, but you're making this. Wouldn't you invest 10,000 to reach this goal that you want to reach to, which is $1 million in sale? So you know where they are, what their problems are, what their revenue is, what their cost per acquisition is, how many clients do they work with, what's their infrastructure limitations. That's the biggest one. If I send you 100 leads a week, what's going to break first? Is it your sales system? Is it your fulfillment system? Okay. And then you just dig deeper and deeper and bring out all this information, and then you use that at the end of the call. Does that make sense?
And all that information is so important because what I'm seeing is that people keep saying, I need leads, I need leads, I need leads. Okay, if I handed you 100 really qualified leads tomorrow, who's going to call those people? How are you going to handle them? What are you going to do? So do you really have a lead generation problem, or do you have a follow-up nurturing sales problem? So sometimes you're actually really adding some aha value to your call because they don't realize that they're in this mindset. I need leads. I need leads. I need leads. Well, I just sent you 2,000 leads. Oh, okay. I have a target market problem. Those leads weren't that's not the right. Okay. So now we had a target market problem, right? Or, okay, now we sent you leads in that target market. You got them on the phone. Did you convert anything? No. Okay, now we understand you have a conversion problem. Okay, you got people, we gave you the list, you got on the phone with them, you sold it, they're not paying their bills, so then we can't get paid. You have an accounting problem. So there's a lot of different things that all those questions, when you're working with a pay performance model, you really do need to do a lot of questions to uncover where there could be bottlenecks, where there could be problems in the system, so that you're not surprised. Like, that just goes back to me telling you guys to make sure you're thinking through your whole sales process, and you're asking questions to get the answers back that are going to help you understand your proposal, and even farther out for, delivery, or even farther out for what your next upsell going to be for this person. Like, ask some futuristic questions as well. So what's last? Let's go in for the close. Let's go in for the close because we've got 5 minutes left.
Yes, going for the close. So again, for me, this won't apply for everybody because my business model is very performance-based specific. But in general, when you get all this information, you can really move to the close, and either you can do it in a third call if you need to talk to business partners to give a good offer, or you could do it on the same call. Hey, this is the offer that I have come up with now based on our conversation. So you move in, you give them an idea of what you're thinking about and what you're doing and how it can benefit them. And you're using statements like, okay, how important is it for you that you get 50 leads a month? Oh, okay, what's that going to solve? Is that really important to you? Yes. Okay, what's going to happen if you don't achieve that? Oh my God, all hell breaks loose. Okay, great. So it's important that you achieve this now. Okay. Do you want our help? Again, it's bridging the gap. Do you want our help, or do you want to do this on your own? Okay, you want our help. Where do we go from here? And they usually ask, what's your price? Okay. This is where the internal work is very important, because you need to be able to comfortably say, I charge $5,000, I charge $10,000, I charge $20,000. You can't say I charge 5,000. You can't do that. You need to be super confident, because because usually when you're not, they kind of like, oh, I can push this guy back. Ooh, 4K, 3K, 2K, right? So you say it with confidence and expect that people are going to clap back and give you every objection under the sun. Prepare for it, because this is a very interesting mental shift that I had a few months ago. When somebody gives you the first initial objection, that's when you're in the game. That's when the true sales call starts. Everything else was just like the appetizer. Now you're in the main course. Now you're battling, in a way, the other person, and you're trying to get them to see that this is going to truly help them, right? So we got to be ethical here, guys. We got to care about the other person. We got to believe about what we're selling, and we got to actually offer something that gets results, because we're not in the business of making money. We're in the business of providing impact. So these things have to be in check. So Kathryn, do you believe it's more valuable to talk about potential objections that people receive here?
No, I think that, we've covered a lot.
We did.
Yeah, so I think that we could probably end all that on a happy note. And
Yes.
One of my future guests can be a closer. You guys, if anybody thinks that they have value to bring on the Facebook Live Fiesta, then hit me up for, we do need a closer and closing tips. But I'm also bringing somebody on, and I need to check my schedule in the future, that's going to talk about pricing. So, and how to really know where you can price, because if you're negotiating on the fly and you're going to break some up, let's say we're charging a $10,000 onboarding fee, and you want to be able to break that up, you need to know your costs, you need to know your value, you need to know what your lowest dollar amount is so that you can negotiate on that step. So those are some things that we're going to talk about with another one of my guests next week. George, I want to thank you so much for being on today. We had a lot of fun. If you guys can't tell, we're salespeople, like we're all high energy and we are using our hands. And oh my gosh, I should have an accountant on for, it might just be a little, is there a type accountant out there?
Maybe.
Yeah, so my next guest, I believe, is going to be Violet Rainwater. Let me just look at my schedule. I apologize. I should have had that in advance. No, so this is good. So my next guest is Nikki, and Nikki Dupree is going to talk about pricing. So I think we're going to talk about how to make sure you're pricing yourself to your value and understanding what's going on. And she's also going to talk a little bit about pricing in the face of trauma. And that's what everybody's going through now, right? So George, we might have been able to say, hey, our onboarding fee is $10,000. And the person says, listen, I just lost 40% of my business. If you would have talked to me a month ago, I would have said $10,000 was a piece of cake. I need you guys to work with us. Like, we need to be thoughtful and understanding and meet the clients where they are today, right? And exactly. Know that we're with you here today, and we're with you. We want to grow with you. So we need to know what our lowest prices that we can offer, not to discount, but to be able to meet the clients that we want to work with where they are today in the face of what's happening with the world. So thanks so much, everybody, for your time. Next week, please tune in 1:00 p.m. And if you have any questions, if you need any additional information, George, where can people get a hold of you if they wanted to talk a little bit more about strategy, if they wanted to talk more about lead gen? Actually, you guys need to know that George and I are affiliate partners, if you want to speak. But if they just wanted to talk to you and they're like, George, you sound like the best sales guy I've ever heard. I want you to sell for me. Like, how can they reach you?
First of all, I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. That warms my heart. You humble me. So people could reach me easily on LinkedIn, George Constantino, or my email, georgethoughtful@gmail.com. You could send me an email. I almost always read that, and I'll get back to you super promptly. Any questions that you guys have, I'd be super excited to answer them. Okay. And George is on my Facebook page, so we can tag him as well, both on the business or on the personal. If you're actually, you're probably not everybody's on my personal page because that's reserved for my family. So anyway, you guys take care. Happy Friday. Get out there and enjoy your weekend. Get out and have some fresh air. Always great to talk to you, George. Thanks so much for the lively conversation. I hope we provided enough value that people learn that sales is actually an art, right? It's a strategy you need to put in place, and you need to stick with it to move people to the next phase of the negotiation table. So peace out, guys. Talk to you soon. Have a good one, guys. Take care. Bye.